Hello there. This is a Gerber 350 ST. It has Aussate steel in it. This model Gerber is an older model back in the 80s. This is one of the first models that Gerber produced when they moved their production from the United States to Taiwan. It's a fantastic knife. Has a palisander or a rosewood scales. You can see it's cracked. That crack is stable. I've had the thing 20 or 30 years, and that crack was there when I got it. I think, but I can't remember, that I stabilized it with super glue, but I might not have. Anyway, just a great knife. And it'll cut, but it's nothing fantastic. I want to talk about something. This video might be long. I might have to do it in a series, but I'm going to try to do it all in one shot. But I want to talk about something that is central to what I teach regarding sharpening. But there are two fundamental views on how to sharpen a knife, and there's a lot of variation in between, but two basic fundamentals. There is one view that says your base stone. Now, if you recognize this stone, this is my India fine, and this is the stone that I usually begin sharpening a knife on. I use it to cut in bevels and bring a knife to sharp. Okay. But there's one theory or one view of sharpening that says that this stone is not meant to bring your knife to a really sharp edge. That the only thing this stone is for is kind of roughing in a bevel, and that you would come off of this stone not quite sharp and move to another stone to refine the sharpness. Okay, when I talk about refining, I'm talking about refining a bevel, not refining the sharpness of an edge. There's a difference in the way I see things. But you come off of this stone, your knife's not really sharp, and on consecutive stones, you make it more and more sharp. Okay, until you end up at the sharpness level that you want. That's the way a lot of people sharpen, and they get good results. I'm not here to say that they're wrong in what they're doing, or to call anybody out or challenge anybody or anything like that. I'm here to explain why I teach how I teach. The other way of looking at sharpening, and it's the way that I look at it, is that this is a foundational stone. In other words, what you do on this stone is the foundation of whatever edge you eventually want on this blade. That the knife should be as sharp as you can possibly get it off of this stone before you move up. But I chose this way of sharpening a long time ago because that's how I was taught. And in my opinion, it's a superior way of doing things. And this is what I teach. But I'm not saying anybody's wrong, or anybody that I'm better than anybody or anything like that. This is the method I teach and why I teach it. So come along for the ride. And let's see what we can do here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some soapy water. And we're going to start the same technique that we always do. We're going to pull this blade along this stone at the proper angle to end up with a burr on this side of the stone, or the knife. And now I'll be editing to try to keep this under a certain To try to keep this at the video at a length where at least a few people will actually watch the thing, it's liable to be at least a half an hour long or more than that. And most people on YouTube, if it's over about 12 minutes, they're looking for something else to watch. They're not going to watch the whole thing. And if I look back in my analytics, most people only watch about 5 minutes of the videos that I produce. So I know y'all aren't doing that, right? The shortest viewing time that's consistent is about 3 minutes. Okay, so I know right off the bat, that's one of the reasons why you got to be careful when you watch YouTube videos and say, oh, the guy who showed the whole thing. Well, no, he didn't show the whole thing. If he showed the whole thing, nobody would watch it. And that's the truth. So, particularly when you go to try to learn something, learn how to do something on YouTube, you got to be really, really careful, because there might be steps that you didn't see that are important. I try to make sure that I show all the steps in my videos, but every now and then they need to be edited to bring them somewhere around 20 or 30 minutes, because my videos are long. That's just how that is. I know that going in, and most of my subscribers know that going in. So, but yeah, nobody's watching an hour and a half, 2 hour video of me sharpening on a stone. Not very many people. Some people do, probably. I know that I have viewers that tell me that they watch every second of my videos, and I really do appreciate that. Absolutely do. Okay, we have a burr, and we're going to turn it over now. We're going to work toward a burr on the other side of the stone. Or the other side of the blade, rather. Again, light pressure. And the burr has been turned. Then the bevels look pretty even. So now, that was fairly painless. Now what we're going to do is use light passes and try to remove that burr. I'm going to start with about 20. First thing you should do when you're removing a burr is look carefully on the stone, because you might find it laying on the stone. But if not, you still want to check. Alright, I don't know if you can see, I have hair here. Okay, it's not quite cutting it all, but you can see the knife is shaving. Okay? Alright. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut some paper. But understand, we're not cutting this paper so you can see how sharp the knife is. I told you before, I don't like cutting paper. One of the reasons I don't like cutting paper is because the crap that's in paper now is never going to be good for an edge. But the other reason I don't like cutting paper is everybody on YouTube does it and they say, see, look how sharp my knife is. But there's an art to cutting paper. There's a way in which you need to hold the paper, and if you've got even a semi-sharp knife, and you hold the paper right and hold your hand right and the angle right and all of that, when you cut with a knife, it'll cut that paper fairly clean. So it's kind of a faux proof and not really a proof. Okay. Even when you have these guys that hold up the newspaper freehand and you know, slice really fast, if you look at the motions of their hands and the curvature of the paper when they do that, you'll realize there's a trick involved in how you cut paper. Period. And it's something you have to learn on your own. What I want you to pay attention to is not so much how... That's why you'll see a lot of times I'll do like a curve in the paper. That's harder to do if your knife's not sharp. But what I want you to pay attention to is the sound as this blade moves through this paper. This is just copy paper. I'm going to use the same kind of paper through this whole video. Okay? But listen. Okay? Again, not proof that the knife is sharp. But listen to the sound. Alright. Now before we leave this stone, I want to kind of reiterate something. And I'm going to clean this stone while I do it. When you talk about knife sharpening, this is the way that I believe is the best, and it's why I teach it. And so this stone, the very first stone that you use, and I always use like a 400 grit or somewhere 325, something 400 or higher, because you have this 180 grit side of this stone. That's really only meant for knives that are damaged and really need reprofiling, or not reprofiling, but repair. Okay? One of the downsides that I have found to sharpening on a lower grit stone is that it creates a big fat wire edge that's really difficult to remove. If you start with a bit finer stone, it helps to avoid that. But your knife, in the way that I teach, should be sharp enough to shave hair off of your arm, off of this first stone. If it's not, you need to stay on this stone until it is. Because the thing of it is I have built a foundational edge now. Okay? When I go to my other stones, I don't need to bring up a wire edge on this knife anymore. I've already done that. The apex of this edge is as perfect as this stone will make it. Okay? So what I'm doing from here on out is polishing these bevel flats until they meet at the apex and are finer. The scratches on it are finer and finer and finer through the progressive edge. I'm not looking for sharp after I come off of this because I already have it. What I'm looking for now is simply refinement, that the knife cuts smoother and smoother and smoother. That's one of the reasons I told you listen to the sound of the paper as I cut it, because you're going to hear, if you pay attention, a remarkable difference as we go, a progressive difference as we go up through the stones on that knife. I already have sharp. I don't need to look for it. I don't need to wonder if I'm going to get it. It's here. I have it. It's attained. I could take this edge and do pretty much anything I wanted, general purpose wise. Now if I come across a task that needs a super fine edge, then I need to put one on here. But right now, this edge right here will cut to the bone. And it'll cut to the bone very easily. And it'll do anything I need it to do, coming off of just this stone. So, alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to move to the soft Arkansas stone. And now from here on out, this is all about maintaining the same angle that you use on that lower grit stone, because if I tilt my knife too far forward, I'm going to dull the edge, and if I tilt it too far back, I won't get any refinement at the apex. But that is the purpose of that repeated. You're placing your knife here, you're finding the edge, you're pulling it down the stone, you're lifting up off of the stone, you're not coming back across the stone, because that would require more finesse than you are generally capable of in the beginning. And then you're coming back up, you're placing it right and drawing it down, coming back up, and that repeated effort to find that edge and to move the knife across the stone at the right edge will build into your muscle memory. And you'll learn what it means when you've got it right. Sorry, we're supposed to be doing this now. Because we're trying this right here helps to mitigate burr formation. You can get a burr this way as well. It's just harder to do. And if it is, it'll be finer. And that's why I do this, because I don't want a burr. I don't need a burr. And if my pressure on the stone is light enough, I won't get one. I already got a burr. I already removed it from the knife. I have a nice sharp edge. And now all I'm doing is refining that apex and the bevel flats so that there's less resistance to the cut. The apex is smoother and cuts better, and the flats of the bevel have less resistance moving through whatever it is that I intend to cut with the knife. And that is why you get a difference in the sound the knife makes as it cuts, because the bevel has been, those bevel flats have been refined, and as the knife cuts and they pass through the material, there's a difference in the way it sounds. There's more of a smoothness to the way it sounds So, same paper. Listen to the edge. Right now I'm at a really nice level. Of polish. Or refinement. This stone's not going to polish anything. But yeah, hear the difference in the sound of that? It's much quieter. It doesn't sound as gritty, okay? Alright, we're back with the hard Arkansas, and what I've done is I've taken this stone and rinsed it under the sink and used my hand to make sure everything was wiped off of the stone that I could possibly get off the stone. Lovely. Alright. Again, listen. That's a push cut. Not a slice. Now this paper is stiffer than something like newspaper, so. But once again, I'm not using this to demonstrate the sharpness. We're demonstrating the sound. It just sounds smoother. The sound changes as you sharpen the knife because the bevel edges are more and more refined as you go along. And we'll tighten that down. You need to be really careful on the hard and the black, on all of them really, but particularly on these stones, that the translucent, the true hards, the blue black, or whatever anybody wants to call them. Okay, these stones, anything above a standard hard, and a standard hard can be grouped into this in this way, although it's not as hard as these others. But mistakes in angle on these types of stones, the knife cannot forgive. So you want to be really, really careful. Of your angle. Alright, I'd like to go a bunch more, but we're running out of time. I think I've got what I need. Once again, listen to the sound. Stand by. Alright, look here. Alright, that is what you get when you build on a solid foundation. A sharp edge from the beginning. So that's why I do what I do and teach what I teach. Thank you for watching. Later.